And mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, well, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage for 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Yo, what's the deal? What's going on, ladies, gentlemen, ladies, man? Welcome everyone to another dope episode of Chill Will Radio, man. We're back. It's Sunday. It's been feeling good all week. It's been warm all week, man. I'm really glad this rain is like out of the way and the summer's starting to come back. I just need everything to open up. Ain't that right, Didier? We just need some things to open up around here, huh? But I hope everyone is doing well on this Sunday, man. So far, so good, man. How was my week? My week so far was, it was good. It was good. Kind of laid back because I've been getting counseled at work. I think I said it not multiple times, but before in the show, the hospitals are kind of empty right now. Because they're empty, I'm not getting called in to work. So, but all in all, it's still good. Tired of being in the house, tired of wearing these masks, tired of not going skydiving. But at the same token, man, I've been dealing with it as best as I possibly can. Still busy, but shout out to all those people who are still able to work, and shout out to all those people who are struggling right now. That's why things need to open up. Ain't that right, Didier? Oh my gosh, I like messing with Didier, man. Didier is like super pro. What's their called? Like pro anti locking things up or keeping us stay at home type of thing. Oh man, but at the end of the day, no matter how you feel about it, we just got to go with the punches, and that's kind of just in life in general. No matter how bad you feel about this girl, no matter how bad you feel about that guy, this situation, you may be at a job you don't like. If a lot of things are out of your control, you just got to do what you got to do and just go with the punches. Do everything within your control that you absolutely couldn't do. So the things that are not in your control, one, it doesn't affect you as much, because it possibly will affect you, but it won't affect you as much, and just go with the flow, right? I think a lot of the times we get so caught up in the things that we can't control. And because we get so caught up in the things that we can't control, Didier, it's causing us to be more anxious. It's causing us to be more passionate. That's the right word I like to use for you, Didier. It's causing us to be more passionate about things that we can't control, about things that are out of our hands. And I don't think it is wise to be passionate about something that is out of your hands, because you are not able to affect it or change it or to do anything about it in any type of way. So focus on those things that you can control. Be passionate about those things that you can control. So that way you can flip it, you can move it, you can go ahead and do what you can with it as best as you can, or you can just let it be. But understand, the more that we focus on something that we hate, the more that we focus on something that we disagree with or something that we dislike, the more anxiety is going to be produced, right? The more we're just going to be uptight and tight and just feel like very tense. Because we're dealing with something that we can't control. We're dealing with something that's out of our hands, right? And I think that's for me, right? And I remember I was having this conversation with Didier a few days ago in terms of, where he is at right now in terms of being so against it. That's where I've been at my whole life. But I've had to learn and I've had to accept that, one, we can't change everything. We can't change everything. And then two, even though we have an opinion, that does not mean our opinion needs to be said about everything. Right? It doesn't. Go ahead, say it to ourselves, speak it to that one individual that you feel safe to confide into, and do those things. But we have to be mindful of the fact that I don't need to tell my opinion to this person, right? Because I don't I don't have the energy, and I do not want to give up the energy to go back and forth with you because you disagree with me, right? I'm very, very of the side. I'm very, very on the side of protecting your energy at all costs. Do not spend unnecessary energy, especially when you don't have to. That means going back and forth with people that you don't care about, that you will never see. Just because you got time today, just because I got time right now, don't mean I'm supposed to be doing it. Just because I got time to go online back and forth, that don't mean I'm supposed to be doing it, right? You may be you're giving up your energy just because that person isn't there. You're giving up your energy. That energy could be used in so many other ways, right? That energy could be used to kind of help you out in so many other ways, right? Be mindful of the energy that you're giving up. Don't give it up for nothing, because you are not. If you're giving up to the people online, they're only going to give you back some negative energy, and that negative energy is something that you don't want to walk around with, because we all know how that goes, right? So especially in situations like this, right? If you disagree with everything that's going on, like me, I disagree with it all. However, we just gotta go with the punches. It is what it is. You just gotta do what you gotta do. What's that saying? Let go and let God. Let go and let God. Let go and let things be. Continue to move the way you need to move. Live life the way you can live life, and focus on the things that you can't control. Outside of that, fuck it. Feel me? So moving on forward into the self-care piece, right? Self-care piece that I have right now for you all, I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen, whether it be every day, monthly, weekly, whatever it is, right? Join a guided meditation type of session. However, right, early on, right, in the show when I first started, and even now, right, people of my community, people of the individuals that grew up in my hood, or that grew up on a block, or that grew up in the projects, I mentioned meditation to them. I'm not doing that white people shit. Like, that's what meditation comes off as. And I go do guided meditation. They're like, I'm not finna sit there and be and listen to some lady tell me to breathe in for 5 seconds and breathe out for 5 seconds. Like, that works for some individuals, but for other individuals it does not, right? But it's important to understand that, one, meditation looks different for everybody. Meditation looks different for everybody, right? Find something, and when I mean guided meditation, find some type of music, find something to kind of meditate with, right? You don't necessarily have to have a specific person telling you, like, hey, sit here and focus on this or focus on that. It's like, no, have something. So if you need to meditate to, I don't know, Eminem, to his music, and that puts you in a state of peace, that puts you in a state of bliss, that puts you in a state of clarity, do that, right? Because the one thing that meditation is doing, the one thing that meditation is going to give a lot of people, is going to give them that clarity that they need, that we all need. It's going to give you that peace that we all need. Everybody doesn't need the soothing music all the time. I don't need the soothing music. This is ironic that this is the background music, but I don't need this background music all the time to help me meditate, to help me get to that place of clarity, right? Because that's the goal of meditation, right? To help you get to a place to where you can be clear, to help get you to a place of peace. Sometimes meditation could be, I don't know, YG in the background. Sometimes meditation could be Eminem. Sometimes meditation could be Drake. Sometimes meditation could be some hip hop beats. Sometimes meditation could be any and everything which you decided to be. Understand, when it comes to meditation, you define it. Not what's out there, not the typical and traditional way things are going. It's like, no, you have the ability to construct the way you choose to meditate. And don't allow what you see on Instagram, or don't allow what you see in other places to cause you to think your form of meditation is wrong, because it is not, right? Some people meditate to silence, some people meditate whatever, but when it comes to guided meditation, have something there to assist you with the meditation piece. You choose it. Find something that works for you. If you're not able to find something that works for you, then join some type of group. See if that works out, right? RZA, the rapper from Wu-Tang Clan, he has a guided meditation piece that's just all hip hop. I think it's called like Fire Flames or something like that. I don't know, but RZA has a dope hip hop type of meditation piece, right? If you're not into the whole traditional Wolfside type of meditation, because that ain't for everybody. I can't bring that on the block with the homies. And when I speak, it's important that you understand that I'm speaking for the people on the homies on the block who are going to need to hear things like this, right? Because they are not. Sometimes they believe that it is a luxury to meditate. They believe it may be a luxury to receive some form of help, when it's like, no. It is that luxury if you believe that is only meant for a certain group of people, but help is meant for everyone. The only thing is you define what that help is. You define what that meditation is. You define what fits for you, right? Just as in the show that we're going to get into today, every therapist is not meant for every client. Right? Every therapist is not meant for every client. Every person is not meant for everybody. So find what works for you and be strong and be firm in your reasoning for doing whatever. So the self-care piece, I want everyone to implement within their self-care journey. Join some type of guided meditation, but you define what type of guided meditation is going to work for you. All right? So, moving on forward into the main topic, I got this young lady who somehow, some way found her way back to the studio. You didn't get lost the second time around?
You know what? Coming to LA has me real confused. I'm not from here.
I mean, well, you got to figure it out because LA's a dope place.
It is not a dope place. Y'all got all this traffic. Y'all can't park nowhere. It ain't free to park. This is just not my city.
Just
but I come here for the good news and even more for Chill Will Radio.
Just because you coming from the desert of Palmdale and Northridge and all of that stuff.
Hey.
Anyway, for those who don't know, this is Young Tia. Young Tia, she was here like 2 weeks ago?
About 3 weeks ago, yeah.
One of those. What did we speak about the
You
last
just can't
time?
get enough of me, huh?
I ain't gonna say all that, but what did we speak about the last time you was here?
About business and therapy.
Oh yeah, because you out here doing things. You just bought your little house and shit.
I didn't buy a house.
You did something. You got a house, young lady.
I'm moving to a house. I didn't buy it.
You got a house. Last time she was here, she was in a cramped up small apartment. Now she moved on up to a...
Quarantine got to me. I was like, I need space. I need to get up out of here.
You elevated in this world.
I'm elevated. I'm trying to.
I'm trying to get like you.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get like the little sister.
I'm trying to get like you, sir.
I'm calling you little sister. Am I older than you?
How old are you?
I'm 28.
I'm 28 too.
When your
but like
birthday?
when your birthday though?
When your birthday?
October.
Damn, you older than me.
Yes. Success. When is y'all? Oh, you're a Capricorn. I forgot.
Not a Capricorn. I'm a Sagittarius.
Oh, I mean, my mom is one, so.
And your mom is great.
My mom is amazing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Your mom is
she's
great.
definitely a Sagittarius.
And Sagittarius are great people.
I'm gonna get in trouble when I get.
It's perfectly fine. Mama, you're a wonderful individual.
Thank you. She's gonna feel really special that she's getting.
She is special.
You know she's texting me, so she's like, "What are you
That's okay.
Hi, Mom.
How you doing though? How's everything over?
I'm good. I'm chilling. Life has been a bit stressful, but
I thought you were supposed to say life has been a bitch. That's what it sounded like you was going to say.
I'm not allowed to cuss on the air. You can cuss. I will get in trouble.
But you said it's been a bit stressful?
A bit stressful, yeah.
Why?
Because just trying to, get the place in time, the first, working still in the cramped up space. Been in my own therapy, that's always like never fun. So.
But you're a gangster. You got it.
I mean, yeah, but this quarantine has brought up a lot of stuff, so I'm, making sure that I'm getting in my little mental health visits online with my therapist too.
How are you taking care of yourself though?
I am definitely spending time with like the people I can spend time with. Like my mom is one of them. We wear masks and gloves. We stay away from each other because that's important. We stay away from each other.
Okay.
I'm a dog mom, so that's really important. But I'm just doing things that I like to do, and when I feel like I'm exhausted or tired, I take my naps. I watch my real estate shows and.
Your real estate shows.
Yeah, I'm like really into real estate shows.
I mean, you moving into a house, right? So it's a new little venture for you.
I mean, yeah, but
It is
I'm looking at the $1 million homes in Malibu. That's the vibe.
Earlier when I told you about the self-care piece that I had, you kind of was like, man, I ain't feeling it.
You know what? Okay, so I'm not big on like the old school way of doing mindfulness, but I do agree with like using music as mindfulness. Like I can listen to anything and be just gone for days.
So the way I said it. 'Cause I
Yes,
told
the
you it
way
wasn't-
you said
yeah,
it, because
okay.
like the guided meditations and
I'm not doing
the
that.
breathing exercise, that's not for me.
It's kind of creepy. I don't want no God breathing in my headphones.
No, and like usually like their voices are really annoying,
Yeah.
so I can't. No, but you know, give me some good YG. It's funny because you said "Let Go and Let God," and I just listened to that song like earlier today.
It's a song.
It's a song by, I think his name is Dwayne Woods. It's like an older song, but it's,
I have no clue.
you
but
know, it's Sunday. I gotta
shout out to that.
give the Lord some praise on Sunday.
But-
I mean, every day, but still.
Hey,
But that's what I was
pretty
listening
sure.
to, so it's funny that you said that.
Okay, cool. Well, you agree with my form
I
of
agree
guided
with you.
meditation.
Your form of guided
Cool.
meditation.
I told you I was going to bring you in. You know, you just got to.
You're such a Sagittarius. You
just-
want everything your way.
It's not that everything has to be my way.
I'm a Scorpio. We gonna fight. We just gonna go back and forth.
So we're just going to move on forward.
Yes, we should.
So
Don't let me come across this table on you.
So, what we're speaking about today, right? And I'm
Yeah.
kind of like very, very briefly skated over it during my little rant earlier.
Yes.
I think it was towards Didier. Hope you don't hate me, Didier.
For the deer. He's gonna be like, I'm never talking to you
But-
again.
Going briefly, right? We had a discussion this week when it comes particularly towards, you know, being culturally aware
Yes.
when it comes to you as a therapist and you working with your clients, and you know how sometimes you could either not do your work. I don't want to say correctly, but hinder the
Yes.
therapeutic, I guess, relationship or the work that you're trying to do. Granted, you may have all well intentions, like your intentions may be positive.
Yeah.
However, there are certain things that go left, right?
Yes.
And there are, and that's something I just kind of wanted to speak about, that we wanted to speak about today,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
Because
we're a we now?
that's something that I wanted to speak about today, right? Because I have multiple experiences in when I've noticed, you know, in which I've noticed you have certain clinicians who treat their black client or their Hispanic or Latino client, you know, another way, right? Not because maybe, I don't know, but maybe not because it's on purpose, but because they're not equipped with the tools that they need, right?
100%.
So let's say, for example, right, one of my first interactions with this is when I was fresh out of graduate school, right? Fresh out of graduate school, I'm working at this one company. I'm not gonna say the name of the company.
Oh, you was ready to give him a shout out though.
Nah, I still got homies that work out there. I ain't
Oh,
gonna
okay,
say that.
never mind. Don't do that.
And the therapist that I'm finna talk about, she's actually really, really good, dope therapist. Just
Yeah.
at that time, she was kind of tripping.
She just wasn't well educated.
She was kind of tripping,
Okay.
right? So, however, she was working with children. And this is probably something that's gonna hit home for you because you work with kids as well.
All the time.
She was a white therapist and she was working with children. She could not, quote unquote, control this children, right? We was in a treatment facility. She could not control. Well, we wasn't in a treatment facility. It was like a community type of place.
Like
but
outpatients.
yeah, she could not control this actual child, right? To actually sit in therapy, to sit and actually pay attention in therapy. Mind you, this child was probably around like between 8 and 9 or 8 and 10 years old. Me as an adult, I still sometimes struggle sitting in a 50-minute lecture. So you as a therapist trying to get an 8 or 9, 10-year-old to sit in
down?
therapy is for 50 minutes to an hour is going to be difficult.
I don't
And then-
even do that long. They get like 40 to 45 minutes.
Exactly.
That's too long.
Exactly. And then also, right, the thing that really, really got me is when I began to see how this individual will work with this particular client. This client was black versus that the client and the therapist is white versus the other clients who are also white. And I started to look at it a little bit. I started to look at it a little bit deeper. Okay, what are you diagnosing this client with? I see that you're diagnosing this client with
Let me guess, ODD?
yeah, exactly. Oppositional defiance disorder, right? Because this client is here because he's on the plan at school because he's acting a fool when the teachers at school can't control him. So he has a lot of behavioral issues because no one could control him because he's fighting or because he's cursing out the teacher. So now you label him with ODD and now you're okay with the medications. Meanwhile, You have the other children who was acting the same way in class. They're not diagnosed with ODD, and you're not pressing medications onto them.
Usually it's ADHD.
Exactly, right? You're not pressing these medications onto them. And when it comes to children who are, let's say, children within the Black community who are having trouble at home, it's important that a lot of people understand that maybe sometimes there's a deeper root than something just wrong with this person, and this person just bad, and this and that.
Yeah.
And situations like that happens way more often than we actually think.
Frequently. My nephew, well, I don't have siblings, but I have a sister-in-law from a previous relationship, and they were trying anyway, but shout out to my sister-in-law. But they were trying to do the same thing with him. He's very, very smart. One of the most intelligent little ones I've ever met in my life. Not just because he's my nephew, but he just is. Very talkative at a young age. And he had the same issue where they were trying to diagnose him with autism. And luckily for her, she had me, who was like, well, is he showing any of the traits? You need to go get him tested by an outside source. And he actually ended up testing gifted. So he was just bored in class, you know. And I think for a lot of our, you know, especially our young Black boys and our young Latinx boys, they're testing gifted more than they're testing oppositional, you know. But because it looks so different than their other counterparts, they're not being tested correctly, or they're not being tested at all. And so
outside of systematic racism, why do you think that's there a lot?
I think because just the knowledge is not there from our end too. Like, you know, we kind of take medical professionals' words as gold now. Not, you know, in past we didn't used to, but we take them as gold. So if someone like a teacher who we trust and we send our kids to every day says, oh, I think that he has this, 9 times out of 10, we're going to take it as, you know, if we don't have the background knowledge, we're going to take it as gold. And then we end up treating our kids incorrectly because we've been given this information by some medical professional or a teacher or a principal or something like that.
Who we think that they're supposed to have, you know,
best interest at heart. Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of and that's why I'm in doctor school, because I want to make sure the kids are getting tested. Yes, I'm in doctor school. Yes. I'm getting my PsyD because I want to make sure these babies are getting tested appropriately.
And the testing is very important. They're appropriate, because they're getting tested regardless, but the appropriate testing.
The appropriate testing.
Right? Because a lot of the times you have people who are of other races, right, doing these actual tests, and they have their own biases. Even though they try their best to not have their biases there or not have their certain prejudices there, it's still there. Yeah. Right? When you see a little Black kid, a little Black boy, or even a little Black girl, you know, act a certain way that triggers you, that sends you back to a place to an article that you read, or to something that you've seen, or send you back to a place in which that's going to cause you to behave a certain way.
Yes.
Without you as a therapist or you as a psychologist understanding, like, hey, I have my own little shit that I need to work with. Yeah. And I think it's important for those individuals to kind of understand where their particular media at, to kind of understand how strong their bias actually is. Because what happens a lot of time, we kind of just stuff it under the rug, and because I'm a therapist and I went to school and all this other stuff, I got it. My heart is
culturally sensitive. I see that so much on like Psychology Today, like culturally sensitive therapy. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, how are you culturally sensitive? Because if you just took a class and that's like the extent of your cultural sensitivity, you're not sensitive. And what cultures are you sensitive to? Because there's a lot of cultures in just black and white.
So how do you become culturally sensitive?
I think it takes ongoing study, ongoing focus, acknowledging your own privilege. Like, if you're not willing to acknowledge that, then you're not going to be culturally sensitive at all. Like, period. And that's privilege across the board. You're a man, I'm a woman. There's privilege there. You know, you and dear are both men. And there's another woman in here, thank God. But there's all kinds of privilege out there, and I feel like you can't just say like I accept everybody, because in reality we all have our own biases. So I just feel like it takes a certain level of work and understanding. And I don't need you to ask me 1,000 questions, because that's what happens in a lot of therapy sessions is teach me about your culture. Don't ask me nothing about it. If I give you the especially like my hair, I have people ask all the time, like, tell me about your hair. No.
You have clients ask you about that?
Oh, all the time. Because my hair changes so much. Like, I can never keep my hair the same. Like, this is too long for me. I can't. I'm like dying. Hey, Riri, shout out to my stylist. I need her to come back home. I'm dying.
You got to figure out how to deal with it.
I'm like, Dadir, I'm like, can we open the salons at least? Like, can she come back home? I'm dying.
Man, but even more so, like just, and I like that piece in terms of understanding your own specific privilege. And you kind of mentioned that we all have a specific privilege. Me as a man, me as a black person have a privilege, you know, especially when it comes to certain things. But sometimes it's and I'm gonna give an example, right? So my example is this: the majority of my caseload is all men, right? Yeah, the majority of my caseload is all men, and it has been all men for a while.
Yes.
However, and this isn't me, but however, I could see there are certain therapists who get tired of dealing with a specific group of people. However, you as a therapist, you're not willing to kind of put, let's say, your ego or something to the side to say, I'm burnt out by this specific group.
Yes.
And because what happens is that because you are not aware of you being burnt out by this specific group, you then kind of hinder that group, so to say, right? And I'm speaking of a particular situation in which I know of I don't want to say a friend, but
an associate,
a previous coworker, who was specifically burnt out, right? Because she was gay, right? And all she seen was, because she's gay, she got it all. She got all the gay clients.
Oh.
And she got burnt out by that.
Yeah.
Right? She got tired of it. But she did not want to tell the supervisor or the boss or whatever that this was going on.
Yeah.
And then I started to see how her kind of skills started to diminish because she was like, I'm all right.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's important that, like you said, you're privileged and where you're at, but also if you want a new population to work with, and then also if you're not good with this particular population, and we said it all the time, like, does this client meet your specific skill set? Me, I don't deal with eating disorders, so you come over here talking about anorexia and bulimia and all this stuff, and I send you somewhere else because I ain't with that.
Yeah.
You know, however, there are a lot of people who are still going to go with it because I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
Sometimes you trying to help too much is really hurting.
Yeah. Or you want the clientele. I think that was something that happened to me early on was I just wanted to build my practice. So I was taking whatever was coming my way. And now there are certain clients and populations that I'm like, that it's not for me. And now it's harder to transition out of those populations because, and you know what I'm talking about, the Maxis twos. That's therapy code. So, but it's harder to transition out of those populations because you've taken them. But, and even during the course of treatment with certain people, like I had to stop taking clients that dealt with grief for a long time because after my grandmother died, I was not in the space to work with anybody who was grieving because I was still grieving.
So at what point was it for you to where you can go back and start working with those patients again?
After I had, really got support in my own therapy. Like when I gave it a lot of time, I think I gave it about 6 months before I specialties. So I had to stop it for a while. But about
one of those things I cannot do.
I love it so much. I feel like there's something so powerful about just watching somebody transition.
My question is this though: what about when you're dealing with clients who? What about when you?
This is a deep thought coming.
It's not a deep thought. I'm just being mindful, make sure I say it the right way. I'm censored.
You are being censored.
I'm trying to censor my voice here.
Good job.
Because apparently I don't. I'm trying to be.
You're trying to clear your filter. You Sagittariuses, y'all don't have any filter at all. Well, yes, Mom, I said it.
I mean, what's the point of a filter?
because y'all are so wonderful at being so direct, and I love that about you guys, but y'all just sometimes it's like rein it on in.
As always, I am not responsible for the way you feel.
He said this about 4 times today.
It is not my responsibility to not. No.
Mom, don't listen to that.
Mom, it is not my responsibility
Because she gonna be like, see, he said it. It's not my responsibility.
Exactly. That does not mean that I'm just gonna go off and be like, fuck you. Don't be a
She is gonna flip out at that. She's
Yeah.
gonna be like, he cussed.
Don't go off the head. Don't go off the rails and just start being ignorant. However,
Yes.
I refuse to keep my
censor
mouth shut
yourself.
for the sake of how you feel. I'm not trying to please anybody.
Well,
know.
that's not good. But I mean, but do you? That might be a client that you not take is somebody who's like me, who's super sensitive to like everything. Haha, you may not be for everybody.
No, I know I ain't for everybody.
You're not.
I
I'm
know
not
that for
either.
real.
But
Going into
it
the
is.
question I was going to ask you, it was specifically in regards to what we spoke about earlier in the
yes,
week.
yes, about the Facebook post.
Go over that.
Okay, so I'm not gonna be like too because I don't want to put this therapist on blast. I don't even know her, to be honest, but I'm in a part of a 1,000 Facebook groups for different reasons.
If you're a therapist on any sorts of Instagram or any sorts of Instagram, like there's more than one, any sort of social media, any sorts of social media thing, then it's extremely mindful that you'll be mindful of how you
Yes.
project yourself out there.
100%. And that's kind of the point of being mindful of what you say. But a lady who was not of color posted a post.
She was white.
Yeah. You're so, oh my gosh. Be sensitive, sir. No, I'm kidding.
What you talking about
Unfiltered.
not-
I'm the filtered.
What you gonna say not
I'm-
of color for? Like,
I'm
who the hell
filtered.
says not of color?
I am filtered water. You are tap.
Oh my gosh, you're not of color. You don't have any seasoning.
I'm not.
What the hell?
Anyway, so that's how I'm gonna say it because that's how I feel okay in my spirit's head.
Okay.
But anyway, she made a post towards something that all therapists make a mistake on at least once or twice in their billing, private practice therapists. She made it sound like it was because of people of color. So
Just say it.
oh my God. Okay,
God.
so basically that claims were denied because they had last names of people of color.
So
and
Johnson and
It was
Smith.
Hispanic clients. So like Sanchez, Gomez. Didier, what's your last name?
Gomez.
Gomez. Hey! I got it. Gomez, things like that. And first of all, my thing is you're on a public forum, so you got to be aware of what you're posting. Secondly, it's very, very, very common that therapists who are doing their own billing or having somebody else do their billing will mess up on billing, especially right now because there's different codes for telemedicine and stuff like that. But this therapist posted about it like this was the exact reason why, and there couldn't have been another reason, and she's so upset about it. And I felt inclined to respond, basically saying that there are a million other reasons why this could happen. You need to be aware of what you're putting out there because you don't know who's reading it, who's seeing it. You know, you could have clients on this page and they may never go to therapy because they think insurance is going to deny them.
For real.
You know, so, and she started getting a lot of responses like that to the point where she took the post down. And so my feeling was...
This is like the therapist shade room.
Yeah. My feeling was that it's great that she, if this was what was happening, that she spoke up about it, but it's also, you have to be super aware of what you're saying because she didn't know 100%. And that's what really upset me, was that you don't know if this is the reason why, and you're putting out false news, fake news, false information before you confirmed it that could stray people away from doing the services that they really, really need.
So it would have been better for her if she would have like DM'd someone and asked them.
Yeah, or if she would have investigated more and maybe asked her billing company before if she, you know, didn't have the information. And it didn't get bad. Like, people weren't like going off on her, but she eventually took the post down because I'm guessing she found out that it was something else.
And that the one thing that's popped up in my head when you first mentioned it, and I didn't want to say nothing then because I know I was gonna say it now, but it's popping up again. I'm thinking about, you know, that savior mentality of you know, a lot of white people, and I don't know.
Here you go.
What? Where you mentioned the anyway? The savior of the other. You want me to say the other?
You would say
Gosh.
the other.
The savior mentality, right? And I can think back to a few therapists who I know who, you know, they work within a very, very diverse, culturally diverse agency, but they choose to have a all black client or all black caseload, all
Yeah.
black clientele.
Yeah.
And there's something to say about that, right?
Yeah.
There's some type of undertone, thing in that. Are you
Yeah.
trying to save us?
Yeah.
Are you trying to, do you feel bad for us because we, may need therapy, and because you coming as the the therapist, the therapist will come in and help us. It is your duty,
To do
your
so.
obligation to do so, because you have to fix us. And I
Yeah.
think it's extremely mindful in what we were speaking about earlier in terms of the biases that you
you
may have,
Yeah.
right? Because being a therapist is a very, very, very you have a lot of power as a therapist, and I think a lot of therapists don't understand the amount of power that you have. Like, you literally have the ability to stop someone from killing themselves, or to cause someone to want to kill themselves even more,
Yeah.
right? You have the ability to cause someone to not beat up their ex, to not kill themselves, to not curse someone out, to be able to get through, the stuff that they need to get through at that
Yeah.
point in time,
Yeah.
right? You as a therapist, you have that amount of power, and it's important that you understand the power that you have by clearing up your own personal biases.
Yeah.
Or understand, if there's a certain population that you ain't rocking with,
Yeah.
that does not agree with your own principles and standards. If that is something that you have to deal with, and that is something that you have to put in check, okay, cool. Because at the end of the day, we're people before we're therapists.
Yeah.
And then we still have our own biases. No matter what, we all have a certain population that we like working with. We all have a certain population that we don't really like working with. Because there may be certain things that come along with a specific group of people because of their own specific challenge or because of their own specific
100%.
disorder.
Yeah.
Be mindful of where you're at, because
Yeah.
if you're not, you're doing more of a disservice than anything else.
Exactly. And I'm cool to say that my therapist is a white man. He comes from the LGBTQ community, which he's very proud of, and I think he's amazing. But he didn't pretend to know.
Yeah.
And that was really important to me. Like, it wasn't like, tell me about this or tell me about that, I don't understand it, blah blah blah. He was very much like, tell me your story and I'll do what I do to help you, And so that meant a lot to me, because he didn't come in making it about what I looked like or, what I was into. It was, let me help you from the mental health aspect. And I've been with him for 8 years because
Yeah.
he's incredible and he's helped me a lot, and he's very straightforward in how he does things. He's a Sagittarius too. I think I like you
we
guys.
just some dope people.
Y'all
like,
just some dope people. Sometimes it depends. But, to me, like, I feel like him coming in with a very open mind and not trying to be something he was not. He's also much older, so he's just who he is at this point. He don't care about nothing.
That's the blessing of getting old, man.
Yeah, he's just like living his best life. So I think that was really important to me, being a person of color. But I also have noticed this trend too, where, say for instance, people get a therapist and they don't really like them, or they're not really vibing with them, or the therapist is not providing them with what they need, they'll stay. And I'm like, this is not a relationship. You don't have to stay,
I've seen the opposite.
Really? They'll
Yeah.
leave? Oh, no. I have a lot of clients that'll stay. And I'm like, so I do consults before. Like, I'll meet you 15 minutes and then we'll decide if we want to be together or not. But, I've had clients who've, therapists have said some crazy things to them. One person told them that she needed to change her hair. And I've actually got that change in the hair a couple times. Like, if you want to get a job, you need to do that. And the clients have stayed with them for like significant amounts of time.
I've seen
That's
that, and
crazy.
like I've heard it from other clients, and where, my therapist, I remember this one specific client who flat out was like, I don't like black women therapists because my previous therapist kind of traumatized me in such of a way.
Us
So-
black mom therapists, we have a way of doing that.
Own it. Own it. Own
But
it.
that's where it comes in being sensitive. It's
Yeah.
like sometimes even a black therapist,
May
they
not be
mom
right
you
for
too
you.
much. Like, yeah, like I don't know if I could like be with a therapist who was like my mom. I have one mom and I love her to death, but if I had another person like doing the most, that would drive me crazy.
Or just maybe too firm, right? Like me, I'm very, very within my sessions. I'm very, very upfront. I don't beat around the bush.
Yeah.
I am not the type of therapist that's going to go and I was gonna do a bunch of figure eights just so like nah. This is what it is. Okay, bet. Look, this is what we finna do. We finna whoop, 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 and then we gonna be good, right?
Then you need to become my therapist.
That's the type of
Paying all this
therapist I
money to
am.
go to therapist, and all you have to do is whoop, whoop, whoop me.
Hey, and you gonna be good. You know, you gonna. I'm telling you, it's flawless. But
You better pass your test.
I will. But I gotta take it first.
Yes, you will.
But you know, there are the majority of clients that I've came across is like I think that they give up on that therapist so much, probably because they're not even willing to give the therapist a try.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I said, I've came across a lot of male clients who, when they get to me, they stick, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they stick up until the majority of my clients that I've came across, they stick up until things get deep. Once things start to get deep, then it's like,
I'm out.
I gotta go. You know, because now once things get deep, that's when like the accountability thing starts to go in. That's when like, you know, conversations around manhood starts to get not questioned, but start to, you know, we start to speak about it a tad bit.
Yeah.
Right. And the majority of them, sometimes they come back, but when they do come back, it's clear that, okay, just at that point in time, you weren't ready for therapy.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's important for a therapist to let the client know that, hey, you may not be ready for therapy right now.
And that's okay.
You know, because a lot of the times as a therapist, you don't want to see this client as another dollar, right? You don't want to tell that client that, hey, you know, this might not be it for you right now, because that client may be very withdrawn. They may not be trying to give you anything. They be in and out when it comes to sessions. You as a therapist have to put that wall and the boundary up to say, hey, yo,
yeah,
I appreciate you for coming through and at least trying, but maybe you should at least, you know,
take a break.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Because and there's this whole little thing, go to therapy, and I completely disagree with that, only because everybody's not ready for therapy.
Yes.
Don't push it on me.
There's a right time for it.
Exactly. You don't have to go to therapy, but just do something therapeutic, right?
Yeah.
I'm more about the work that you're doing versus you just actually going and just showing up and just being there. Because you just coming to therapy and just sitting there is actually doing you more harm than anything else.
Yeah.
Because now what you're going to do is there's going to be this bad taste in your mouth when it comes to therapy. I went to therapy. It ain't help. I'm just here. It ain't really do much.
Yeah. And I hear that a lot from my clients. Like, you know, especially Black men and Latinx men. Hey, now. Is it Latinx? Am I saying that right?
I don't know.
Do you? Okay. Gosh, dude, you're supposed to help me. I want to make sure I'm being culturally sensitive, sir. This is what we're talking about. I'm going to say Latinx because that's what I was told. So I want to make sure I'm categorizing.
Didier don't care about that stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna say Latinx then. But with my men and my Latinx, they have had that a lot where, you know, and I think it comes on the side of women too. Like, we are like, oh, there's a man in therapy, because, you know, women have a lot of trauma with men. So, you know, we get men in our sessions and we don't really know how to deal with them. And that was what my grad school thesis was on, working with Black men in therapy. So, you know, I think that there's a whole different ballgame, and that's why it's all cultural sensitivity. It's not just white and Black. It's, you know,
it ain't just white
there's
and
so
black.
many, you know, we were talking about sex positive, like what that means for somebody. Like, and you know what sex positive is now, right?
I know what it is.
Okay.
I know what it is.
For those of you guys who don't know what sex positive is, it means all forms and types of sex are accepted.
Exactly.
And,
so if you down for the BDSM stuff, then hey, you gotta go with it.
Yeah. Ooh, I done broke the thing.
That ain't me,
but you know, that's considered a counterculture. So, you know, we think about all these things and cultural, you know, appropriateness and stuff like that. And if you can't work with that, you're right. Send them out. Refer them. There are people that love working with people of every cultural group and creed. So just send them somewhere else.
Don't be afraid to send them out, man.
No.
It doesn't define who you are as a therapist. It doesn't dictate how good or how not good you are as a therapist. It just says like, yo, I can't meet. It actually says a lot of positive things about you as a therapist, because you're able to acknowledge where you're at within a particular situation, and you're able to put your ego aside to say, hey, I may do you more disservice as a therapist if I keep you here. Because like I said, I don't deal with eating disorders. And
I don't either.
I'm not. No. You know.
But I have a friend who's like an eating disorder guru. Hey, Mia, she's amazing. And she seeks, I want them, send them to me. And she's a therapist of color, and she's amazing. But I know that I
you
don't
should tell
do
her
that.
to come up here.
You know what? I might tell Mia to
We
pull
can
up
talk
on
about
us.
these eating disorders.
She's amazing. So, you know what I might ask? Oh, so you having me come back now?
I said her. I didn't say you.
You can't have her without me.
Don't you hate it when people just like?
Why
try
you
to
hating
invite
so much?
themselves
You
to the
know that
party,
you
like,
love when I'm here.
People try to invite themselves to the party. Like it's not.
You can't have her without me. You can't have my connects. Thank you very much.
What's her name?
Her name is Mia Raymond, and she is in Santa Monica, and she's amazing.
Okay, that's cool. I got BBS and Bree, so
I'ma
I can
fight
figure
you.
out how to find
You
her.
can't have her. I would tell her, don't go on that radio show. It's bad. But she's an incredible. I don't know what she's mixed with. She's mixed with a lot, but she's an incredible eating disorder therapist, and I send everybody to her. If you hit me with eating disorder, I don't work with that, but I know somebody who is incredible and who will give you everything you need. Go see me. You know.
Definitely.
So you don't have to do it just because you want to accept all cultures and backgrounds and feeds.
You don't have
that
to be the
drives me
therapist
crazy.
to save everybody.
No.
Like, no, you don't have to be the therapist to save everybody. You don't have to be the white therapist that needs to save all the black kids and the black therapist that needs to save all the black kids. Like, you don't have to be the therapist to save everybody.
I ain't saving nobody's kids.
You don't. You have to be the therapist that is good for that client that's in front of you.
Yes. And opposite, you have to be the client to stand up for what it is that they want out of their
Exactly.
sessions. If you want a black therapist, that is okay.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a black person, you want a black therapist. If you're a white person, you want a black therapist. That is okay.
However,
Uh-oh.
However,
I got
will
the
say
finger.
this. Oh,
He gave me the finger, guys.
did. I will say this. If you want one part, a lot of clients don't know what they want when it comes to therapy.
Facts.
Right? I just know I need to go. I don't know what I'm here for. I don't
Yeah.
really know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And that's, the job of the therapist to help that person facilitate
Identify
their
it, yeah.
feelings, right? So they can figure out. That's why I just say we're just professional facilitators. Like,
We are.
we
I
get it
like
through
that term.
Right? But also, be open enough to know that, hey, if you go, be open enough to know that just because there may not be black therapists within my area, I'm not going to go to a therapist.
Yeah. I hear
Don't
that a
shut
lot.
yourself out only because you only want a black therapist and you live, I don't know,
In Northridge, because I'm the only black therapist out there.
if you live in Northridge and Tia is booked because she's the only black therapist and everyone else is like white and Latina and all these other races, that does not mean you're
Don't
not
limit
supposed to
yourself.
go. Definitely
Yeah.
don't limit yourself.
I mean, that's
Keep
what
going.
I did. I couldn't find a therapist that was, black. And so I got the therapist I got. And like I said, he's incredible, but he's a white man. And it's like, I probably wouldn't have made it as far as I did if I did not give him the chance,
For real.
So you have to, again, allow them to have the chance. But if you feel it in your spirit, because people feel that all the time, like, this is not the therapist for me. Or if they say something that's so far left field, and like I said, it's not just about color too, it's about everything, lifestyle, anything that is important to you. If the therapist is not on board with that or respectful of that, then you don't need to be there.
Nope.
You don't need any therapeutic trauma, because there is a such thing as therapeutic
Oh
trauma.
yeah, for real.
So-
therapists be out here making
Wilding
people go crazy.
out.
Tripping. Don't be out here thinking therapists are all saints and all.
They are
good.
not. We are not.
They are people first, and then they are.
Then it's
therapists.
our job. That's why there's so many therapists getting into that therapist magazine. Have you ever seen that? In the back of it, it's like all the therapists who did like stupid stuff. They put them in the back of this magazine. And it's like if you drunk drive and you get caught, you get put in the back of the magazine.
I need to see that. Wasn't that?
It's called The Therapist. I think if you're in camp, like, oh, you're not an MFT though. Yeah, we're back to that. Camp does it every time. It's called The Therapist magazine, and they'll put you out there. So, and I have seen therapists in the back of the book for like racial issues where they've said something disrespectful to a client, or walked in giving their opinion on things like that. That's why, like, people talk about the president right now. I don't say a lick about that man in my therapy sessions. and they be like, I can't stand Trump. I'm like, that's none of my business. I have my feelings on him, but I'm like, let me not say nothing.
Yeah, this session ain't about
It ain't
you.
about that. Yeah.
This session ain't about you at all.
Yeah.
Ain't about you at all. Didn't you say you had some questions for me that you like wrote down or something?
Oh yeah. Would you ever see a therapist that's not black?
Nah,
Yeah, I asked it.
I won't.
Why though?
I won't. Would I be open to it? Yeah. Well, will I be open to it? Yeah. But with the first few therapists that I go see while I'm trying to figure it out, would they have to be black? Yeah. And that's only because as a therapist, I'm very mindful of like certain things a therapist do.
Yes.
So I see you trying to be a therapist, like I'm gonna call you out on it. Stop it. Even though when you're getting therapy, it's like, yeah. At the same token, for me, it's just about a relational thing.
I hear you.
You know, will you be able to relate to certain things? Because I got bombs that I can come drop on you. Just boom.
True.
You know, and does that mean, I don't know, could it be unfair for me to say, oh, anyone of another group may not be able to understand? Yeah, because there are definitely people in other groups who will be able to understand a lot of the things that I have to say.
Yeah.
It's just about comfortability. Then,
Yeah.
Right?
And I feel like you as a black man is a little bit different. Like, you guys have so much like riding on you, and you. Hey, I wish you guys could see what he's doing. But you know, there's a lot of sensitivity that has to be had, and I think sometimes that gets missed a lot. Number one, in being a man, and number two, being a black man, I feel like that gets missed a whole lot. So I can understand why you would say I would want somebody of color.
I would. Would I be open to someone else? Yeah, but I gotta I gotta search the landscape.
The landscape. But there's also so much more to like a search for a therapist, like age too. Like, I'm considered really young. Well, we're considered young in the therapy
someone
world.
older.
Yeah, that was what I needed, but not too much older, but like old enough to. Like,
But that's
give you
also
life
the other
experience.
thing. Do not put this box around the type of therapist that you want, because
Yeah.
it's gonna be very, very hard to find.
It is.
Exactly. Like, you shouldn't put this box around the type of girlfriend or boyfriend or type of partner you want, because
Why
Good
not?
luck.
I ain't out here trying to have no guy that's a hot mess.
anyway, moving on forward into the last question that I kind of just make up on the spot and don't really,
ask me about skydiving again, sir.
I did ask you about skydiving.
You already asked me, so you can't ask me again.
We're gonna go skydiving sometime. Lydia's gonna go
I feel
skydiving.
like- Have you gone skydiving with him?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
see, that's your partner, bruh.
That-
She's the. And dear, have you gone? I don't know. Did they hear him?
Lydia gonna get there,
Did they hear? You don't even look like you need to lose 10 pounds. Hush.
and you just put it on. Maybe he didn't want people to hear that, and you just said it. Like, look at you. God.
Well, I'm positivity. I am body positivity, and you look amazing. So, no.
That's what I'm saying. It's not dating. It's like there's a weight limit. There's a legit weight limit.
What is the weight limit?
250?
Really?
It's 250, or they have to, if it's 250, or they have to get someone specific for the weight.
Oh.
Because let's say, for example, Didier's 250, and then me as the person, me as the instructor, I weigh 150 or 125.
Oh, you ain't gonna be able to hold.
Didier's finna control the whole little thing. You know what I'm saying?
The deer freaks out. Y'all gonna be
So
all up in the nonsense.
the weight is that the weight for that part, and based upon how the type of parachutes that they have at that time.
Oh yeah. I don't know if
How
I've
big your
ever-
parachute is based upon your skill level and how much you weigh. So
You know, I had a dream about skydiving after hanging with you for too long.
it's meant to be.
It is not meant to
It
be.
is meant to be. It
Okay,
is
but
meant
what
to
was
be.
your question?
Damn, I forgot. But
You
there
need
we
to
go.
go eat, sir.
Stop right there. I will eat after the show. I will eat after the show. You know. But shout out to my 48-hour fast.
Yay.
But the question that popped up in my head somewhere along the down line, and you kind of skated on it a little bit when you did ask me that. But my question is this: because you said you have a white therapist,
Yes.
right? Has there ever been a point in time in which your white therapist have said something that put your antennas up, thinking that, okay, he may be looking at me a certain way in regards to like, maybe a little bit racist or whatever?
No. I could figure it happening, but And I don't know if it's because he's a part of a marginalized group, so he's super aware of it. But there's never been a time where and I've talked about being a Black woman, being a Black therapist, being a young therapist, like all of these things. And there was never a time, but like I said, he's done a lot of work. He's done a lot of work for a lot of marginalized, like his whole career was, you know, based on, and not because of his choice, but that's just where he was. And so he's done a lot of education, just, you know, all of that. So there's never been a time where I felt like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm not understanding. There's a time that I've felt that though as a therapist.
Okay.
I've had a client that was of a different religion, and I am so afraid sometimes to say it incorrectly or what she's doing or whatever.
Just that.
You know, and the greatest conversation we ever had was her willingly educating me on her religion. And
that's why I always put that disclaimer up. If I am wrong, please
correct me. Yes. And she did that, and I am forever grateful to that client because I learned so much about that particular religion and have so much respect for it. And even though I'm not that religion, I can now work with other people who are that religion and kind of understand, you know, when they say certain things or they're doing something. I think she was Muslim.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they do like Hajjs and things like
Shout
that.
out to all my friends who are going through Ramadan right now.
Yes. And that was something I learned too, like when they were going through Ramadan. But it was only because she offered the information, not because I was like, teach me about your religion. Like,
yeah, nah,
we're not out here trying to use clients to learn things. Like, you better go learn on your own. So it was an amazing experience. It was one of my very, very first clients too. So
shouts out to her. She dope.
She is so dope.
Tia, good looking for coming through, man.
Yay! Thanks for letting me come back.
I guess
it was good. You know it was good. Don't act. You just hungry.
I am hungry, which is why you need to go home.
So I'm gonna fight you. We gonna fight on the radio. They gonna hear a bunch of rumbling around.
Oh man, but good looking for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to all those individuals who are listening and tuning in. When you listen today, tomorrow, next year, next lifetime, when we're all on Mars chilling and whatever.
You and Mars? What is with you and Mars?
I don't know.
Like Mars?
I want to go to space.
That's a whole.
If they say you can go to space, but when you go to space you're going to die, I would go. You go to space, the only condition is you're not going to come back. You're going to die.
Well, sorry.
I love y'all. I'm gone. I'm gone.
Okay.
But as always, always understand, ain't no wealth without your mental health, y'all. So please stay blessed. Take care of yourself. Be great. Peace.